Morning, YouTube. That was a nice nap. Oh, hey, it got warm out. Or warmer. Well, now we're going to do the face plates, top and bottom, and be able to move on to the next project. Let's get to it. Okay, so doing this, things I got to keep in mind are I'm trying to eliminate as much waste as possible when I'm cutting the plywood. I'm using 1/2 inch for the face, and the length inside for the mattress or for the ceiling of the bed area on the other bed is 30 inches by 75 inches. The outside is, when you add in the 3/4 inch plywood, is 76 and 9/16. So I'm going to cut it to that length first, and then I'll trim the 1 and 9/16 off for the bed. That way I'll have a piece that's all the way, that's 4 foot all the way across. Because what I want to do is I'm going to bump in a little bit. I haven't decided whether 6 or 8 inches. I got to do a little playing around with that, so that it gives a little bit more rigidity to this and a little bit better finished look. I mean, rigidity, that's part of the reason to put the faceplate on and looks, but as you can see, this doesn't even move at all, and I don't even have the ends attached to the ceiling. So being attached to the back wall, sturdy frame, this is not going to go anywhere. So let's go outside and where I got the plywood set up, and we'll get that laid out. One thing's nice, don't throw your little scraps away. I use them as notepads. I wrote down the numbers I need so I don't forget them. Distractions happen. So it's nice, you know. Don't throw these little things away. Just, they're easy. You can slip them in your pocket and so on. So anyway, what I found to have is an edge guide like this. Running the saw along the edge of that edge guide, and you want to keep in mind the distance to the blade. In my case, from this side to the blade is 1.5 inches. So I'm going to offset this by 1.5 inches so that I can run it the blade right along it, and it'll cut right on that line. Another hint is set your blade shallow enough that it's just going to go just through the plywood. That'll help minimize some of your chipping and give you a nice clean cut. All right, so let me get this clamped down, and then we'll cut this off. As you can see, beauty of those sawhorses, nothing falls down, I don't have to hold it up. But that. Okay, so now that I got the face plates cut, I need to cut out the openings. what I want to do is, because this is going to be a door that opens up, as I mentioned in the last video, I want to leave a 1/2 inch on either side for it to bang in, to hit, so it's not going to go all the way in. I'm going to cut it so that it's flush here, so the hinges will be screwing through the plywood into this on the top. The same situation on the bottom. So what I'm going to do some careful measurements of these holes where I want them, and then we'll lay them out on the board out there. For that, I need a little bit bigger notebook. So, okay, so doing this layout, important thing is I did all the measurements from one side or one end. That way, when I lay it all out, there isn't a problem with if I jog it a little bit this way or that. So some tools you may want to pick up for doing layout. There's a quick square. This is great for framing and stuff. It's not good for a lot of little things. This big square is commonly used in drywall, but it's great if you're doing anything 4 feet, or across something. This carpenter square, this is great for laying out stairs. There's a lot of other things you can do. It's basically a bigger version of that. It's good for doing small things, but it doesn't have the solid set that this one does. And the other thing that's handy is for things like this, a very long straight edge, the one I use for cutting. That's great. So let me get all this laid out, and then we'll move on to cutting. Yeah, the other thing before I forget is I marked it. Top, this is the piece for the top, this is the piece for the bottom, and I'm drawing an arrow as to where the top is so they don't flip it and set it up upside down. It might not fit. The measurements are definitely different top to bottom, especially on the bottom piece where there's the drawer. Okay, I'll get this laid out. Okay, I got my lines laid out and saw adjusted. Boards supported well on the sawhorses. Love these things. So what I got to do is I'm going to do what we call a plunge cut, and I've got to be careful. I've got to watch my corners and very slowly cut this nice and straight. The blade is not going to, because it's circular, it's not going to catch right up into the corners, but we can get that with the saber saw. Let me get the major parts of the cut done, and then we'll come back and trim that. To do a plunge cut, I get the blade lined up, I lift it up so the blade is not in contact with the wood. Start it, and then plunge down in. There's one door. Important to note is that on my circular saw, I'm using a thin kerf blade, and it's almost the same thickness as my saber saw blade. So there's very little for me to sand down, no nubs, less waste, tighter joints, because there is going to be that kerf spot, but that's going to give enough room for this door when this is in there to be able to open up. All right, let me get the rest of this cut out. We'll get the bottom one cut out, and then we'll move inside. I got the face cut out, the doors cut out here, and I got them just clamped in place right now so that I can measure. I'm going to put an 8-inch piece down here. It'll hide this edge. It'll give me a spot for on the back to have little pockets for cell phones, books, my glasses, that kind of thing, and be able to hide the curtain because I'm going to have a curtain across for privacy and comfort. So I'm going to cut these pieces out, and then we'll be back. Okay, so it's going to look something like that. Now, there's not, the only thing that this is tied to is going to be the sides. So I need to tie it, the frames together. Whoops. So what I'm going to use is biscuits. These are the little biscuits like this. I've got a tool to cut slots, and we're going to put, probably put 2 here, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. Between this and the glue, it should all hold together really nice. And I'm going to brad nail it into the around here. So just to add a little bit. Clamp things in place. Never have enough clamps. I might have enough. So for this anyway. All right. So in order to do the biscuits, figure out where I want them. And if I draw a line, each place that I want to put a biscuit, it gives me a reference point to cut the slots. So I'll mark these up. We'll get outside. I'll cut the slots. Okay, so this is the machine I use. See, it's got a little blade that cuts the slot like so. Cuts the slot into the middle of the wood. Biscuit goes in with some glue, and the other one matches up and holds it all together. So let me get all these cut, and we'll move back inside, put it all together. Okay, so now I'm gonna put it all together. We got the biscuits cut, we've got the slots cut, biscuits ready, glue ready. So what I'm gonna do is get the bottom piece in. I'll brad nail it in. And lots of glue again, and then I'll put the biscuits in, add this piece in, brad nail it down the side, do the top, and we'll be done. So cue the time lapse. Well, there we go. First bed's all done. This get an idea of. This will be up here like this. I'll be able to open this up for storage. Goes back 30 inches, quite a bit of storage. Storage here, above the bed, below the bed, should be more than enough for the clothes I need and got. And like I said, very sturdy. I got some space in here. We'll put a curtain across eventually. So, there we go. That's how we build the beds. And like I said, off camera, I'll build the one on the other side. So I'll be back in a while. And we'll see what I move on to next. Right now, what's going to end up happening with the bed, somebody suggested it had a nice spot to take naps. I'm going to end up putting things in here I've already got, just as storage until I get to them. I've got the stove, the hood for the stove, my sink is still outside, but I've got, tools just to get stuff out of the way so that I can go and keep working on this. To get an idea of what the rest of the bus is, as you can see, I need to move some stuff around just to get some extra space. I got a lot of plywood The shorter pieces, narrower pieces, but I'll be using those for shelving and so on. Hopefully won't have too much waste. So there you go, YouTube. That's how I'm putting together my beds. And remember, bacon makes it better. See you next time.